Welcome to the Genesis of the Doctor podcast, where we're taking a journey to the time and space of the history of Doctor Who. I'm Tris,
And I'm Joy.
and for today's episode, we're watching the second and third serials of Season 9, with the Curse of Peladon and the Sea Devils. So, right off the bat, I need to say, the way I typically watch these is I'll do like one or two episodes a day. Typically, and I kind of spread it out over the course of like a week, or I might change up the number based on how many episodes in total we have to do.
Yeah,
Curse of Peladon, I sat down to watch, and I sat through the whole thing in one sitting. Was not my plan, but it really had me intrigued and it had me hooked. And I think that's
yeah,
important to say early on.
yeah. I quite liked Curse of Peladon. It was a fascinating story.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I loved like every little bit about it. Like the intergalactic politics that were going on were some really good world building.
Yeah,
Arguably better than some other instances of things like that we've had. Mostly because this one actually involved different races, different planets, different things going on. Even though ultimately all they really needed for that was the different costumes of them. It all
yeah,
took place pretty much on the one planet. And I think they told a great story with that. Like the world building was great. I think the cast of characters were all fantastic. And I think the roles that both the Doctor and Joe played were really, really good.
yeah. I really loved how they brought back the Ice Warriors, and the Ice Warriors aren't villains now, which is just an interesting way to take them. And then you also have, like, the Doctor has to face his own prejudices because he thinks the Ice
Yeah,
Warriors are the villains the whole time.
the Doctor's pretty prejudiced at first, but he comes to terms with that fact. Like, and
Yeah,
and I think like I had it noted in here too that like wow, like he was really prejudiced at first. Like he had some bad encounters with them and was convinced all of them were like that they would never
yeah,
change. Like, wow, Doctor, I'm glad you learn and grow, but it was from a viewer perspective. I mean, that's all we had to go off of as well. Like they're literally called the Ice Warriors, so it's fascinating to see that they weren't the villains here. That they even went as far as understanding why they were assumed to be the villains, and then worked to help solve things. They worked to be really active in stopping the problem, and that was really cool. Actually, that was really good to see.
yeah. This is done by the same writer as the Ice Warriors, so I guess that's why he brought back specifically the Ice Warriors. But I
Mm-hmm.
loved getting to see like a new angle to them.
It was really good. And a new angle made it really refreshing with them because now they feel really fleshed out compared to some other recurring monsters and aliens from Doctor Who. Like these are
Yeah,
really fleshed out because they have a lot of depth to them, including like the inner politics. Like we never really get that. Um, so it was really fascinating seeing the Ice Warriors, even though there was only like two of them, really play such a big role and it not be villains because that really doesn't happen.
yeah. And I kind of liked how, uh, the 12th Doctor did a prequel to this story with
Yep.
Empress of Mars, and then you get to see Alpha Centauri come back.
It was actually really cool seeing that this actually took place after Empress of Mars. That the way that story played out with the 12th Doctor was getting them to be part of the Federation they are now part of here. That was actually like
Yeah,
really cool in retrospect.
and they, the voice actress for Alpha Centauri actually came back for that story as well. It's the same person,
Oh
and
wow.
she had retired 18 years before that, but they asked her to come back, and she said, "Sure, I'll do a quick voice."
That's fun. I mean, yeah, they get you in, you're done in less than an hour, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Depending on how long it takes to get the right take, but that's pretty cool actually. Learning more about Alpha Centauri was fun too because I only really knew Alpha Centauri from that story and any other little references that pop up here and there. But like Alpha Centauri, like in terms of like the Doctor Who like fandom, is kind of like a really notable name. Like everyone kind of knows it.
yeah,
So actually seeing this first story with them was really funny because I was not expecting them to be as cowardice as they actually were. They were
yeah,
very silly. The suit actor also seemed like they had a lot of fun in the suit. just kind of like
Yeah.
running around, basically, like putting on panicked motions.
Apparently, the director of the episode did not like the Alpha Centauri suit because he thought it looked very phallic.
I can understand that.
And then they said, "Okay, we'll put a coat on it." And he's like, "Well, that doesn't really solve the issue, but I guess we'll
It's
go
a
with
little late
have a
to
cape."
fix it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, there was
I
also plans to make Alpha Centauri change colors depending on mood, and I guess they just decided that would have cost a lot of money.
That would have cost a lot of money, but that would have been really cool to do.
Yeah.
If we ever get a modern story with Alpha Centauri or people of the same race, I'm sure they would implement that idea with CG now.
Yeah.
That would be cool, but
Alpha Centauri is also non-binary. Not really
yeah.
worded the best in the episode, but
No,
it could be worse.
I remember when I saw that and I'm like, huh. I mean, that I don't know if that's exactly progressive or not, but you know what? They tried,
Yeah.
and that's more than we could have asked for in the 70s.
Yeah. It could be
Like,
worse.
yeah, it absolutely could have been worse. They could have been like aggressively derogatory about it, or they could have just not bothered.
Yeah.
They chose to do something. That's fascinating, actually. Even if it's not done the best way, it is still an interesting step.
Yeah. I also had a note here that Joe was going on a date with Mike Yates at the beginning, apparently. And that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, it was a little hard to tell after like the first couple of minutes if it was actually a date or if they were just hanging out. But it did seem like with how much he was putting on, like, you know, the whole thing with her outfit and how much she did herself up, it did seem like it was supposed to be a date. Although
Yeah.
I don't remember if Yates is the one she ends up with in the end. But I mean, good for them either way.
Yeah. And then Peladon falls for her very quickly.
And she kind of falls for Peladon, which that's probably the weakest part of the story to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she should have grown as attached to him as she did by the end. Unfortunately, that just kind of felt like poor writing of a woman, where she has to fall in love by the end of the story, because they kind of kept making it a point where she kept getting upset that even if he didn't realize it, all he was actively looking for was political connections and getting the upper hand. Even if he did not realize that's what he was going for, by being a king and by phrasing things the way he was, that's what he was doing. And
Yeah.
you would think by the end of it, she would have been fed up with that enough that, like, no, she doesn't, you know, feel anything about him, but she respects him as a person. But no, and instead it seems like they did fall for each other, but she only left because she knew she couldn't stay. And I don't know. That's a bit messy, I think.
Yeah. It's a lot like what they were doing like with Barbara. Every time somebody always fell in love with her.
Yeah. Yeah, it did kind of remind me of that. And it's mostly just because it felt like she only started to like him because he kept reiterating that he liked her. And I don't know, she deserves better than that. I did appreciate the very final scene where he was like, I don't care about your rank, like, I want you. I don't care if you're actually a princess or not. I thought that was nice, but I still don't think it. I still don't think she should have developed the feeling she did for him, because I don't think that spark on her side was there at all.
Yeah. Apparently, the actors did start dating in real life during the story,
Oh,
which is a
okay.
bit funny. But yeah, I think the characters, it was a little odd. I
Hmm.
did. Joe had a lot to do in the story though, and it was
She
very
did.
very well done for the
She
most
did.
part.
Just after we were complaining about, like, the interactions between the Doctor and Joe starting to feel a little weird at times, where he's like kind of berating her for things that don't really make sense.
Yeah,
Um, it feels like they're getting their footing more this season.
yeah,
The exact dynamic between the two is starting to feel more like what we see from the modern side of things. We're seeing a lot of, like, fun little, like, teasing between the two of them going both ways. Like they're like they as characters and as actors are enjoying being together.
yeah.
kind of banter, and I think that's good. That makes it feel healthier. There's a moment in Sea Devils that's still kind of the Doctor not being the best to Joe, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
um,
I,
but
I feel
yeah,
yeah, I feel like it's a bit more whimsical now when he's saying something mean to her
yeah,
rather than just mean
yeah,
spirited.
yeah, exactly. It definitely is a bit more whimsical, and it's also it's also like a fun dynamic between them because she pokes fun at him right back most of the time.
Yeah.
But we have like funny little moments, like when he's like when the doctor's hypnotizing Agador, and she starts getting hypnotized as well because she's staring at the device.
Yeah. And I loved how she like assumed that the doctor was getting attacked and tried to save him. And it's like, no, I
That
was
was a
trying
great
to
scene.
hypnotize him.
That was a great scene. One, just because I just love the idea of the doctor like hypnotizing this big beast and singing it lullabies, and his first instinct to see how well it's going is to like scratch behind the ear and pet it.
Yeah.
Like that was adorable. And then it was really funny when Joe assumes he's getting attacked, chases it away, and he's all upset. He's like, "Oh, you ruined the experiment."
And I find it so funny how at the end, Agador is basically just a dog
I
towards the
loved
doctor.
that. I loved that. Agador's the dog wandering around, and he really wanted the doctor's attention. Came up just to get petted, and then jumped up. Literally like a dog. It's like, all right, down, down. That
Yeah.
that almost makes me feel like that bit was improv. When he tries to climb up on him, but
Yeah.
it was definitely like a really funny sequence that I really appreciated seeing because that was adorable.
John Pertwee definitely also likes fight scenes because he got a whole fight scene in here. I feel like he just
And in
likes
the
doing
next
those.
story,
Yeah.
I really think John Pertwee enjoys his fight scenes. Yeah, he has quite a lot of them, and he clearly has fun doing them.
Yeah.
Not only does he get to make funny faces, he gets to do funny interactions.
Yeah.
But hey, winning the fights what earned him the respect of his opponent. So
Yeah.
that was cool.
I also just found it so interesting to find out that this story was inspired because at the time the UK was entering the European Union, and that's
That
basically
is
what
really
the whole
funny.
thing's about. And then it's just funny from our perspective because like we're now in a world where they've already left.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Doctor Who was there when it was joining it, and now it's here afterwards.
Crazy how times change.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like the villain as well was just like a fascinating character where he's like the most
Yeah,
xenophobic guy you could ever find.
yeah. I definitely wanted to ask how we thought about Hepesh because Hepesh was fascinating as a villain because it really like circumvented expectations where you think it's like someone else from the Union, especially when you're led to believe it's the Ice Warriors. But like the more you see that it's Hepesh and how far he's willing to go for it, like it really starts showing you just how bad he actually is. How like
Yeah.
xenophobic he is, as you mentioned, but also like just in general how afraid of change he is.
Yeah. There's even like the little scene with where he's talking with Peladon and he refuses to refer to Peladon's mother as his mother and just says the Earth person or the Earth woman.
Yeah,
So you can
the
really
signs were
tell.
definitely there from the beginning, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like as in your face as it was much later into the story.
Yeah. Because sometimes there are just people that are like that, and then they're not the focal point of the episode.
Yeah. Arcturus was also fascinating as a co-villain, technically,
Yeah.
where I don't know. Initially, I didn't believe it because it felt a little out of nowhere the way they slotted that in. Like, oh, it turns out, like, how did they get all that information? Like, how
Yeah.
did they defeat Arcturus? Or yeah, Arcturus, and then immediately, oh, well, we know everything that he was getting up to, and he was actually the one working with Hepesh behind the scenes. Like, wait, how did we learn that? That was a jump.
Yeah. Like I think it made sense from the perspective that like Arcturus was attacked, and then the Ice Warriors tell you that like, well, he was attacked in a specific way that would actually not hurt him at all. And
Yeah.
then so like from that perspective, you can start getting suspicious of him. But then they just know
Yes.
the whole plan somehow.
Yeah, it was specifically knowing the whole plan that was a little weird, but they definitely like sowed the seeds for you to be suspicious of Arcturus as well, because he was kind of the only other one that was spouting not quite hate, but things that get the gears of the mind turning in the same way Hepesh was.
Yeah.
He started saying some sus things as time went on.
I found it funny how he's basically just like a discount Dalek as well. It's more or
Yeah,
less what he is.
that's basically, yeah.
And then there's
The
also the
set was also really good. I just want to point out too, like the set of the castle and everything was also really good.
yeah, those are good. And there was the little mention that like the Doctor thinks the Time Lord sent him to prevent the breakdown of this. Apparently, in
Yeah,
I think there's like a novel that goes into detail that like if the Federation broke down here, then it would have led to the Daleks being able to take over the world or the universe. So it's like this is kind of like the first mission of the Time War, essentially, because it's the
yeah,
Time
I guess
Lord's
so.
trying to alter history just to stop the Daleks.
Yeah, something we get a lot throughout the classic era, which I guess is why they decided to write the Time War much later on, because you can
Yeah,
kind of look at a lot of things building up to that. But yeah, I
yeah,
guess this would have been one of those. It is interesting though how kind of offhandedly the Doctor mentions that
yeah.
near the end. So it's, oh, it turns out they didn't get the TARDIS working after all. But I kind of find that funny because, well, if the TARDIS was functioning in the way we know it to nowadays, that's not the Time Lords. That's just the TARDIS.
Yeah,
Bringing you exactly where you need to go. Maybe not where you want to go, but where you need to go.
yeah. I guess I
So
just wanted to make sure.
I wonder at what point they make that change.
Yeah, I guess I just want to make sure you knew that like we're not going to be using a TARDIS every episode.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there's the real delegate arrives, and then they have to very quickly run off, which is so good. I love that little scene
Very
there.
it's very silly and it's pretty well done. I do enjoy that.
They want to watch the coronation, and then the real delegate arrives, so they have to run away. And then
And go
everybody
watch a different
watches.
coronation.
Yeah, everybody has to watch the TARDIS leave.
Which we don't get often in this era, so it's nice getting people to actually see the TARDIS leaving.
Yeah. I also loved how very quickly Joe adjusted to playing the role of the princess at the beginning. Just
That's part of
immediately
what I
she got
mean
it.
too. That's part of what I mean with like they played their roles really well, and like the way she and the Doctor work off of each other now is really good. Like they quickly got into that, and they did a great job with it.
Yeah. She's definitely no Jamie, where Jamie had to be told like 5 times, like you need to pretend to do this thing.
And then get nudged, and and then does it.
Yeah,
She is like ready at the drop of a hat. Snap your fingers, and she is immediately slipped into the right role she needs to be. It's
yeah.
pretty good. It's pretty funny.
About all I had for notes on Curse of Peladon myself.
The only other thing that I had, I was curious how you feel this holds up of compared to other third author stories that we've seen so far, because to me, like the production value, like all the costumes, all the roles they played, like the way like everything in this story came together, I think so far out of what we've seen, this is my favorite third doctor story. I think it just all came together so well. And like I said, like I intended to watch one, maybe 2 episodes at a time, and I sat down and watched the whole thing in one go because it just had me that hooked, which hasn't happened yet for the third
Yeah,
Doctor.
I'd say it's definitely one of my favorites of the Third Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to look at all the other ones to decide if it's my number one favorite, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, I think so far for me, it's the top one. But I am very curious by the time we finish his era, how that will hold up.
Yeah. Also, I will say I know that we do return to Peladon. I think in his final season, because Sarah
I
Jane is
believe
with
it's
them.
with. Yeah, I do know
Yeah,
it's with Sarah Jane.
yeah, because Sarah Jane and Joe talk about going to Peladon in Sarah
Mm-hmm.
Jane Adventures, apparently.
Yep, yep. I do remember that. They both talk about encountering Agador.
I believe King Peladon isn't there next time, but Alpha Centauri, I think, also is there. So,
Oh, okay. Maybe I was gonna say maybe it's just far enough in the future or something, but that's fair.
yeah, I think it's like the next the next royal person. I think a queen is
Okay.
in charge by then.
Fair enough. We'll see how that goes then.
Yep.
It'll be a little bit. It's probably like a season or two ahead, but
Yeah, it's
we'll get there
season
eventually.
11 is when it is. So,
Okay, so 2 seasons ahead. Yeah, so
yeah.
it'll be a bit.
Yeah, that's
All right.
all I had for Curse of Peladon.
All right. Well, that's Curse of Peladon. So now let's talk about the Sea Devils, which is another really big one, all things considered.
Yeah.
And especially with, War Between Land and the Sea happening in the relatively near future. Also, a good time for us to really see the origins of the Sea Devils before they like completely change what they are.
Yeah.
Fascinating story with how they started off. It's the Silurians, but they're sea Silurians, so they're
Yeah.
the Sea Devils, but like they're basically the same except they adapted to the sea instead. Because I always thought they were different, just like similar circumstances of they used to be like the main species on Earth. I didn't think they were of basically the same origin. Um,
Yeah.
but I gotta say, I love the Sea Devil suits. I
Yeah.
love their suits. I think they look so goofy, but they were honestly just like really fun looking suits, and I
Yeah.
think they had the right amount of like creepiness and silliness to them that you kind of just want and expect out of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Apparently, they originally didn't have clothes on, and then they went like, well, they look really weird naked, so they just like got
Yeah.
fishing net or something and just forced clothes on them. But yeah,
Hmm.
they're great looking designs. I think.
They are. I think they look better than the Silurians did.
Yeah. My overall thoughts on the story is that I think it has the same issue that Terror of the Autons does, where it's just like a very very similar story to the previous one, and the only
Yeah.
difference is the Master's here now.
And even then, it's very similar to the last time this happened with the Master too, where the Master is working with them and then gets betrayed at the very end, and then has to fight for his own life, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Despite how much he's doing for them, so that's unfortunate. I really liked this story, but it's definitely lower than at the very least Curse of Peladon and some other ones to me because I could not stand how insufferable so many of the other supporting cast were. Now, granted, that was the point. They like
Yeah.
Trenchard and Walker were like fully intended to be insufferable, but it was really annoying.
Yeah. Trenchard is just like such a weird idea because like you would think that if they captured the Master, they would make sure that like everybody that is looking after him would be like the best people to be looking after him. But no, this guy just had to be told, "Well, I'm trying to save your planet," and now he's suddenly on the Master's side.
It
Yeah.
wasn't even trying to save your planet. It was like even before that, it was a case of like, oh, I'm helping you stop enemy spies. Like he's just like very patriotic was the
Yeah.
problem, and the Master manipulated that. Which I mean, we know the Master does that, but it's very like weird that like oh like the hypnotism stuff didn't work. Instead, simply convincing him worked even better than the hypnotism typically does. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
Like you like hold on, sir. You're so patriotic that you're going to betray the government agents to work with the man held prisoner by the government agents because he tells you he can help you save the government.
Yeah.
I think he was getting a little senile. Like
Yeah.
unfortunately, like when you really like stop and think about it, it doesn't make sense.
Trenchard at least gets his comeuppance at the end. Doesn't make it out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Walker is just so insufferable the whole time, and he just gets out scot free. Yeah, I think this
Yeah,
was like
the
it was a decent Master story, but I think the Sea Devils were kind of not the best that they could have been.
I would
especially
have
because
rathered a story about the Master or a story about the Sea Devils. I don't
yeah,
really like that it was both, because I think either one could have been a great story, but I think it was constantly at odds with each other.
yeah,
Like, the
especially because like
first half of the story is so focused on the Master imprisoned, and then the second
yeah,
half of the story is so focused on we're going to war with the Sea Devils.
yeah. I found it so weird that like the Sea Devils are like there's one Sea Devil in the first 3 episodes and that's it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I mean. Of like, I don't think it was balanced very well. Also, I was thinking about it, and I didn't even put this in my notes. I was just like thinking about it. Wasn't the whole point of the first few episodes that this like abandoned base that like two people are working on is like that was where the Sea Devils were, like below that? Because once they leave there, they never go back there. They keep going to random spots in the ocean instead. But they said, oh, it
Yeah,
was like work being done on that abandoned facility that awoken the Sea Devils. So you would think that facility was going to be really important. They were going to keep going back to it, and maybe from there work their way down into the Sea Devil base. Maybe there's like an opening, or maybe like it's in that building that there's a way down. No, no, they never go back there, and it makes me think they just lost their filming contract for that location.
yeah. I assume that's probably what happened because that base was actually like a location shoot, and then
Yeah,
obviously the Sea Devil base is a set.
yeah. Like, it just felt like they couldn't tell the whole story they wanted to with the time they had there, so they worked really hard to make you forget about that part in the second
Yeah,
half of the story. Because they the amount of times they reiterated like this random point in the ocean was where they had to dive down to get to the Sea Devils, and I kept thinking, I'm like, that's not what they did though.
yeah,
I was like, did they have to go to the base? Like this one like abandoned like building? No. Okay. Like it was a little too disconnected. A lot of parts of the story are a little too disconnected, unfortunately.
yeah,
Which is a shame, because I think there's a lot of really good ideas here, and I liked it, but I don't feel like it holds up as well under criticism.
yeah. I just found like the whole story with the Sea Devil so boring just because it's literally just what they did with the Silurians. It's just the Doctor shows up, tries to make peace with them, and then they decide no, we're going to do violence instead.
Mm-hmm.
And the only difference is that like it's the Master convincing them to go to war instead of one of the Silurians. That's really it.
And as much as I really liked Captain Hart and working with people other than Unit, I think this story would have been far more powerful if it was once again with Unit.
Yeah,
With, the Doctor, working to convince the Brigadier, you messed this up last time, I will not let you mess this up again, kind of thing.
I think Unit was supposed to be there, and then Nicholas Courtney was on vacation or something, so they
Mm.
hastily removed Unit or something
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, it's Captain Hurt is. It was such a weird character because he starts off being like your typical military man who's like refuses to work with the Doctor, and then he very quickly shifts into, well, now he works with the Doctor, but then now there's a superior officer coming in to replace him who also doesn't
Yeah.
like the Doctor.
He very quickly takes on a role similar to the Brigadier, because
Yeah.
there's just an overwhelming amount of evidence showing the Doctor's right, and you have to trust the Doctor. And I do like that. I like when that happens. It's why in like modern Doctor Who stories, I always like when they would bring back Unit, but not the recurring characters. So you see other people in Unit learning to work with the Doctor. I
Yeah.
kind of like that with this, where like seeing Captain Hart learn to work with him and work with Joe, especially when it was like against Walker, because
Yeah.
again, the superior officer, really, really insufferable. But that was the point. Every time they had him like ask the secretary for food, they like played it in such a way where you're meant to roll your eyes at him or like scoff at him. Like they made sure every time he did something stupid, they focused the camera on somebody else's face to get a reaction, to show that like you're really not only not meant to like him, you're meant to look at him with like a dude, what the hell kind of reaction.
Yeah. And there was the one shot where they zoom in on his face while he's eating food just to like try to play up that he's just so insufferable.
That was so funny, actually. That it wasn't even a zoom in of his face; it was a zoom in of his mouth
Yeah.
specifically. Like, they did a great job making you not like him.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I think they did too good of a job because I actively really don't like him, but I don't think that helps the story
yeah.
because he didn't add anything other than make things more difficult than they already were.
And I also have to say the music in this was so weird.
Yeah, it
It
was.
was a very odd choice. Half the time I was wondering, like, is that like music or is that like somebody using a ray gun or something? I kept not
It was
being
hard to
sure.
tell.
And then like sometimes it's like when a sea devil gets attacked, you're not sure if it's like is that music or is that the sea devil screaming? And I'm not sure at times.
I could definitely tell when they had the sea double scream because they reused that scream or a sound very similar to it in the 13th Doctor story, Legend of the Sea Devils, when it gets killed.
Yeah,
It's like the same kind of scream. And it's like a
yeah.
very distinct kind of sound. So I was able to tell every time they screamed in this versus like background noise. But it was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. Apparently, even the composer went on and said, like, yeah, I probably not the best choice of music for that one.
No, that's fair. I mean, it helps you grow, I suppose, if you're able to willingly admit that and move forward from it.
Yeah. I did like, though, that
Overall, hey, go ahead.
the master is watching a children's show and then he thinks it's real aliens.
That
That-
that was funny and reminiscent of well, I guess more so the modern thing is reminiscent when John Sims Master becomes Prime Minister and he's watching the Teletubbies.
yeah. Yeah, and this was a real children's show. It was called The Clangers, is what it is. And that was a
That's
real
funny.
children's show at the time.
That's funny. And he just assumes it's aliens. No, it's such a good moment. It's such
And
a good moment.
I love the face he pulls when he goes to turn off the TV. Or he's like, "Oh, I really thought they were real." Like, it's so great.
So disappointed. I will say though, while overall like we kind of agree like the story's very divided, it's a little messy. Best scene of the entire story was the Doctor and the Master having their sword fight.
Yeah, that was great.
That was so fun, and like they clearly had a great time with that. And then you had the silly moment of oh the Doctor knocked the sword out of the Master's hand, and now he's got a sword on him. And oh, you know what? Hold on, I'm gonna eat a sandwich.
Yeah,
Violence makes me hungry, don't you think? And then the Master with his I hope you enjoy your last meal. And then the Doctor respectfully giving him back his sword, so they go back to fighting.
yeah.
And then the Doctor then ending all that with, see, I told you, violence is never the answer. And I'm like, you just had a sword fight.
I loved how disappointed he sounded when he said "violence gets you nowhere" as well. He's
Yeah.
like, tisk tisk.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Like their relationship, the way the two of them are with each other is like the highlight of every story they're in together.
Yeah, definitely. I also definitely loved the scene where the Doctor's fighting the Sea Devils. He just like
Oh my
throws
God.
one into a wall and is just beating them up.
Like it is so funny because they had a gun pointed on him and like from afar, and that was like the stinger for the end of the episode. And then all right, well here's what actually happens. Or the Doctor just runs at them and starts fighting them.
Yeah.
Like that's
Great.
Oh my God. John Pertwee. Oh God, that's so funny. I don't think we'll ever see another Doctor be like that active in a fight, but with like physical altercations. But it's so funny.
Yeah. It's like that one time the first Doctor did it in the Romans, where he loves his fisticuffs. And then
It
now
really is a lot like that, actually.
and then
except
the
we're
third Doctor just
actually
does it all the time.
Seeing it here, yeah. Oh my gosh, we only ever get like small hints of that nowadays. We never really like actively see like a choreographed fight scene, but he's doing
Yeah.
it almost every episode.
It's definitely one of my
It's-
favorite parts of the third Doctor is how much he just fights people.
And how ready he is every time. Like, gun pointed at him from afar. He still runs in and does it anyway.
Yeah.
Doesn't even, like, I don't know, use a sonic screwdriver first to disarm the gun, then do it. Nowadays, he would do that. But
He
So
was
funny.
he was using a sonic screwdriver to blow up mines to get rid of the one seed devil earlier, though.
He was, which was fascinating, actually, getting to see the sonic screwdriver get a little bit more use here
Yeah,
in ways we're familiar with at that.
I really wish Unit was in this story though, especially because like the general or Walker is like last time we had to deal with this, we just had the Brigadier blow them up, and that's how we're going to deal with it. So it
Yeah.
would have been fascinating to see like the Brigadier actually being there and being involved in the
And
conversation.
yeah, that's exactly why I think that this story would have been a lot better if it actually was a unit story because of how much they reference the Silurians. I think it would have been
Yeah,
great to actually make it a proper follow up to that of the Doctor and the Brigadier being at odds with each other for a lot of it because of that. I think it would have let us see a lot of depth to the complex relationship the two of them have. And I am disappointed that it wasn't a story with Unit
yeah,
because I do think that hurt the Silurian side of the story. Um, I think this really should have just been two stories. You have the story with the Master breaking out of this prison, taking control of this prison, and putting him at odds with, the Navy, sure. Um, and then you have the Silurians, sorry, the Sea Devils, with Unit in that case. And
yeah,
I think it would have worked better as two stories in that case because these really do feel like two half stories as opposed to one full story.
yeah. Then at the end, the Doctor blows up the Sea Devils because he gives them an option to look for peace, and they didn't take it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
And unlike his first attempt with them, where he was really getting through to them, this one there was nothing that could be said, and he's like, "All right, well, I'm
yeah,
sorry." And I really appreciated how well that first attempt went too. Like they were like getting really convinced. It's just so disappointing that what convinced them not to was the fact that they were getting attacked because they had been attacking the whole time anyway.
yeah,
Like I'm sorry. The fact that they are retaliating is what makes you decide. No, they're animals. We have to get rid of them. Like, come on.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, if the Master wasn't there, maybe he would have been able to talk sense into them, but the Master just
maybe,
was a
but
devil on their shoulder.
yeah, he definitely was a devil on their shoulder. I don't know how well it would have worked because how quickly they turned on the Doctor even before the Master said that very much felt like looking at him like you said you'd make peace, and it's like I haven't even left the building yet,
Yeah,
kind of reaction. The Sea Devils really got to up their security though, because man, were they able to constantly escape from that place a little too easily.
yeah. I really liked some of the scenes at the beginning, like when the boat driver, the Doctor just bribes the boat driver to let him borrow the
Yeah,
boat, and then very soon after, Joe is seen giving him money for the bike.
yeah.
It's
I think that
great.
was really well done too.
Yeah,
Though I will say, I don't understand how Joe got the bike and ended up at the same place as the Doctor when they took two different methods of transportation to get there. Completely different ones. One took a boat, the other took a bike. I guess they're on the same island?
yeah. They were saying that it's all one island, and it's just like the base was just like around the corner on the island or something.
Okay.
I think is what he said.
See, I thought these were like a bunch of small islands very close together.
Yeah, because
That
there's
the Sea
even
Devil base was evidently in the middle of, like in
uh,
between them all, but no.
Trenchard drives there as well, so it's like it would have to be on the
That's
same
true.
island,
Yeah, that's true. That's
or
true.
there's a bridge or something to get there.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's right. Yeah.
But I guess that does make you question that, like, he says the Master can't escape because we're on an island, and then like, well, I mean, there's a Navy base on the island. You'd be able to
Yeah.
go there and get weapons.
Which is literally what happened. Yep. So
Yeah. And then the Doctor refuses to carry his credentials and has Joe do it.
we also have the really funny interaction between him and Joe. Of she gets a sandwich in the Navy base, and he's like, "Oh, Joe, what do you think you're doing? This isn't a picnic." Immediately, like he and all the others eat all the sandwiches, and she calls him out for it. And he's like, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry."
Yeah. At least he apologized.
At least he apologized, but it is really funny how that whole scene played out because you just feel bad for her.
Yeah. I found it so funny how he was snacking on it while he was talking to Captain Hart as well. He snacked on it, then he gives it to the secretary, and then hands the empty plate back to Joe.
It's just very silly.
Yeah. So apparently, MI5 came to the studio afterwards and was wondering how they, because like there was something about like the submarine model that they made that apparently had like top secret information on it by accident.
Oh, that's funny.
Because it was like a model. They took a model and then they took like a vacuum cleaner part for like the blades of the model, and then it turns out they had the correct number of blades for highly classified submarines.
That's hilarious.
So they accidentally got in trouble.
How did that get resolved?
I guess they just said like it was an accident. We didn't know that.
I guess they had to prove how they did it.
Yeah. And
That's
apparently
crazy,
this is not counting the 5 Doctors. This is the last time we will see the 3rd Doctor in his original outfit. She's wearing different stuff from now on.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. Well, I guess we'll find out if they're good outfits or not.
Yeah, I mean, he has been wearing different outfits this season so far, so it checks out.
That's true. That's true. Probably didn't want to wear the costume after it got completely soaked at the end of the episode, constantly in the, constantly on the boat.
Yeah. I know, apparently Roger Delgado didn't like going in the water because he was worried his outfit would be ruined.
Yeah, understandable.
I also find it so funny how at the end he escapes by putting a mask on a guy, which implies that he just always has a mask of himself on him.
He just always carries the masks, yep.
Just always in his pocket. But yeah, it was a bit of a messy episode, but still enjoyable, I would say.
Yeah, it was still fun. It was still a good time. I just think following the highs of the previous story, I didn't quite like it as much, and I think the flaws stood out a bit more. And because the flaws stood out a bit more, things like the insufferable characters, in my opinion, kind of bogged it down even more, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there were definitely some good highs to this story, and I think they had a lot of really great ideas. I just wish it was overall executed a bit better.
I definitely think that like the Doctor and the Master's interactions were the highlight for the most part.
Yeah. Which is consistent for stories with them both.
Yeah. I also loved how the Doctors chased the Master on jet skis. They just quickly go out there.
So funny.
And then it's
that something about that scene felt like the two of them going, hey, can we do this since we're like already like around here? And they found a way to make it work. I don't think that's actually how it was done, but something about the vibe of that makes me feel like that's how it played out behind the scenes.
Yeah, and then like when they were actually on the jet skis, it wasn't really like they were chasing each other. It was more like they were racing each other because like they'll just overtake each other and everything.
Yeah, it's quite funny actually. That's why that's exactly why I feel like they just asked to do that and they worked it in.
Yeah. I also loved at the beginning when like the Master's pretending like he's getting better, and then the Doctor steps out of the room and he starts laughing. It's great.
So silly, so silly. Like the everything the two of them have together is so fun, and the way they like deceive each other is always funny.
Yeah. Kind of sad that we're almost done with this incarnation of the Master. He only has 2 more stories left, but he's done a very good job in like every story he's been in.
Yeah, he really has.
Some of the stories have just suffered because like him being there is like the only good part at times.
Yeah, sometimes he definitely takes a little too much of the spotlight, which isn't bad for him. It's bad for the rest of the story, but he has definitely been like a really big highlight of this era. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all the notes I have on that story.
Yeah, that's all I've also got for the Sea Devils. So I think that brings us over to news, because there actually has been a little bit of news. If you would like to go into it a little bit, we have the start of the 13th Doctor's Big Finish audio series has started to come out.
Yep. The first one they released, I think it was on the 3rd of July, and okay. I gotta say, I quite enjoyed it. It's very good.
Ooh, that's good.
And there is sort of an implication in there that possibly the 13th Doctor could have stories without Yaz, because like Yaz drives to her friend's bachelorette party, and then the Doctor shows up separately. So it kind of implies that like Yaz has been at home for a little while, and the Doctor went off and did some other stuff. So like, if they want to do 13th Doctor solo stories at some point, they now have a spot they could do it.
That's true. I mean, otherwise it would be any time she dropped off the fam and did her own thing and then picked them up. So there's definitely like points where they could fit that in for her. But it's interesting to hear that it sounds like they're coming up with more ways to fit that in.
I mean, they're not like very explicitly saying like, "Oh, she went off on adventures on her own," but there's the indication that it could fit in there now.
Yeah.
Although the villain of the story is like, "Hey, I've been following your TARDIS for a while," and Yaz doesn't recognize it, so there is a bit of an implication there that maybe she went off and did a couple things. And then she shows up, and it's a hen do, so she brings 2 chickens with her, and she names the 2 chickens Ian and Barbara, which is great.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. I need to check these out. I'm actually looking forward to checking these out. I really am looking forward to more of 13 and what they could do with her character now that like she wants to come back to do the character, because that means there's more she wants to do with it, and I'm excited to see what kind of comes out of that. I always feel like that can lead to some of the best, where like actors either could leave and they come back, or like after like their first season, so to say, when they're much more like confidently in the role and they get it a lot more, things like that. I always feel like really bring out the best of characters. But I really am looking forward to seeing, or I guess technically hearing, how the 13th Doctor stories go, where it's just her and Yaz and not juggling a bunch of other companions as well, because I do think it'll give the 2 of them more time to really shine as characters in their individual stories.
Yeah. And I loved how I think Big Finish interviewed Chris Nibble about this, and he was talking about how like it was very intentional that there's a bunch of empty space between like the end of season 12 and the beginning of season 13, where you could just tell a bunch of stories with these 2 doing a bunch of other stuff. And then he also said that like he very intentionally told Big Finish to not tell him any details about any of these stories, because he wants to listen to them when they come out, which is great.
That's great. That is great. I love that.
He's so excited to hear 13th Doctor stories that he has nothing to do with, because this is going to be the first time he's having the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that.
It's great that he's coming at it from the perspective of a fan, essentially.
That is great. That is great. That's like whenever you'd see Stephen Moffat react to Doctor Who during the Chibnall era and during RTD2 before he was writing for it again.
Yeah.
It is fun seeing things like that.
And the Fugitive Doctor second box set is also coming out this week as well.
Oh, excellent.
I believe it's the 17th is when it's coming out. So I'm looking forward to that one as well.
By the time this episode's up publicly,
yeah,
that'll be out. Which I guess is a good time to remind: if you support us on Patreon, you will be getting early access to these episodes, basically as soon as they're fully edited. So if you support us at the lower tier, $1 a month, you get into our Discord, where we'll be encouraging discussions between episodes about what we're watching, and of course get the early access as soon as the episodes are done. Or if you support us at the higher tier of $5 a month, you will be able to watch us live as we record. We have a little text chat on the side, and you can come in and tell us that the Curse of Peladon is the worst Third Doctor story ever, and that the Sea Devils never looked better than they do here. I don't know. I couldn't think of a different thing to add to that one. But with that, Joy, can you let us know how to prepare for next episode?
Yep. So next episode, we will be finishing off season 9 with both the Mutants and the Time Monster, which are both 6-parters. I believe the Time Monster is our next time we're going to Atlantis, and it's just not the same Atlantis as last time.
Oh, of course. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the Mutants is like an alien spaceship or something. So they're going back to space.
Well, that'll be interesting. I'm actually, I'm definitely looking forward to these, because the dynamic, there's the word, the dynamic between The Third Doctor and Joe have been getting really good, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they handle more adventures together.
Yeah, and we are very close to the Three Doctors, because that will be not this episode, but the one after, when we're starting season
Oh,
10. That's
very
Three Doctors is the
nice.
first story of season 10,
All right, that's coming up then. That'll be fun.
and that
All
has
right,
Omega in
well.
it as well. So
Oh, so it'll be topical. It'll be relevant. Nice.
yeah,
That's going to be exciting coming up soon.
yep,
All right. Well, then, as a reminder, make sure to watch The Mutants and The Time Monster before our next episode. You can find those on the BBC iPlayer or on Tubi TV. And again, if you support us on Patreon for just $1 a month, you'll gain access to our Discord and early access to these episodes. I have been Tris. You can find me on most socials at ToonTris.
and I've enjoyed. You can find me at Joy Content.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.